A smashing audience from Duleek in County Meath. Let's hear it. And first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet Liam Smith, sitting there in the front. And Liam is a bit of a historian. Isn't that true?
Well, only second hand.
It's a very interesting place, I believe.
Yes, it goes back a long time, but my knowledge of history is somebody else's research. I'm not an historian, I'm just interested in history.
Mm-hmm.
But where Duleek is in East Meath, and Duleek is the principal town in East Meath. It's the third or fourth or fifth largest town in County Meath. And it's maybe important today for it having the biggest cement factory in Europe. That's the biggest thing about Duleek at the moment. It also has the first stone church ever built in Ireland. That's where the word Duleek, meaning stone house, stone church, comes from. Duleek, Keenan Stone Church.
How far back does that church date?
Well, it's only the remains of a church, and what is known as the remains, or referred to locally, is probably not the original stone church. There's almost certainly not. There's probably no trace of the original stone church. But there's a lot of stonework in the area in which it is. But St. Keenan was a member of the Keenocta tribe who lived in this area, and that's the kingdom of the Brega, which extended from, say, Clogherhead to Malahide and inland about 10 miles up the Boyne. And St. Patrick probably ordained St. Keenan, but St. Keenan was the Duleek bishop, the first bishop of Duleek. And then there was St. Benin, who was also associated with Duleek, to whom St. Patrick is traditionally, who was St. Patrick's first successor, but he was the person to whom St. Patrick bequeathed his personal breviary.
Norman and Viking influence.
The Norman, Duleek had a very famous monastery, and it was a diocese, still is a diocese, but it was absorbed with Kells and Clonard, become the diocese of Meath. And that great Irish monastery, Augustinian monastery, was raided literally hundreds of times, but there were at least 27 major raids by the Vikings of Dublin. And not only the Vikings, but their friends as well. And there were 6 St. Colemans, bishops of Meath at that time. And during the reign of each of them, there seems to have been a raid on Duleek, and things were stolen. There was a round tower, which was partly responsible for some of the things that were saved. The round tower was recorded to have been struck by lightning in the 11th century. And subsequently, Hugh de Lacy, who was made Lord of Meath by Henry II.
Liam, thank you for that. Deserves a round of applause. Now, Vera Powderly sitting next to Liam. You're one of the head bottle washers there in the club.
I wouldn't think so.
What's the name of the club? Is it just the Duleek Senior Citizens?
Exactly. We just call it Duleek Senior Citizens.
And how many years have you been up and running?
We started 18 years ago, and we called it the Pension Day Service. So we had voluntary drivers that went out and took the people to collect their pensions. They could do a bit of shopping. Then they came to us in the parish rooms, where we'd have a cup of tea and a sandwich for them. They would spend the evening then there playing cards, and when all was over, they'd be left home. So a couple of years ago, we decided we'd change the name. So we call it now the Senior Citizens Monthly Party. Again, we have our voluntary drivers that go out and bring them in, but we go now to the parish centre, which is much bigger, and we have a couple of games of bingo first, then supper, and then we have a dance, live music. As a matter of fact, our musician is with us today, PJ, as we call him. And we have a few raffles, could be 10 or 12 prizes for them. And we give them a party then at Halloween and Christmas. But this is a whole voluntary effort as such.
Great. And there's a good bit of crack, obviously.
Great bit of crack, great bit of crack.
with Jim Conlon here. Before we come to the end of the first part of the show, Jim, you were a fruit grower all your life.
Yes, all my life. I left national school straight into fruit growing.
Goodness. So that area is good for it, obviously.
Yes, the population at around 600, about 300 families were involved in
fruit growing.
mainly raspberries.
Really?
And
so that's canes.
That was raspberry cane. There did some gooseberries then, but it was mainly raspberries. We had jam people from Dublin come down, Lamb Brothers, who are now gone, Williamson Woods, Chivers, Holloway's.
Oh, the whole lot of them?
All of them came down with their lorries and collect their fruit.
But I believe that the season was much longer for raspberry growing in the old days.
That's right. They came, that time the older varieties lasted longer. The new ones seem to have a better quality raspberry, but they go out quicker.
Do they?
Yes.
And I mean, was there enough in raspberry growing to keep you busy 12 months of the year, or was it just sort of summer seasonal?
In those days it was a big thing because you had no help from weed killers and sprays that we have nowadays. And
Thanks be to God.
Yeah. There was an awful lot of work involved in the olden days in raspberry.
Like
growing.
what?
Well, you had to come along, get all the weeds out by spark and spade. You had to, what they call the spud along the bottoms. And they don't do that anymore now, the brand same machine, and prevent the weeds from coming up, which is a big help. And the whole...
And what about the pruning? Because there's an awful lot of work involved in
There's a lot of pruning. You had all that to do in the winter. Every cane that came up had fruit, but you had to cut that one out because a new one was there for the next year.
Okay, so you cut out the old canes.
You cut out the old canes, and that's...
And what variety were you growing, or did you grow more than one variety?
Well, we grew ones, in the early age, we grew ones called Browns, and then we had Severe Frost. We had different names on them, and then along comes the ones nowadays are Jewel. And,
yeah. And what about the picking? How many people were involved? The whole sort of town?
The whole town went out picking at that time, even from Drogheda. Girls walked out from Drogheda. And the wages were very small. It was 2 shillings a day in those days.
But they probably ate 10 bobs worth, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, this is it. You got 1 and 6. No, they didn't eat that many raspberries. Raspberries were very sickening if you ate them off the bush.
Were they?
You know.
You tried?
No, I never. Those years I never tasted one.
Really?
I never really tasted one. Yeah, but I would eat strawberries always.
Yes.
But jam making was the big thing, though. So they all went for jam.
And I loved raspberry jam on white bread and butter. And a hot cup of tea.
Yeah, well, that's gone now because it's all gone into, everyone puts them into the freezer.
Do they? Oh, yeah.
Freeze them up. And then they make jam with them when they want. You know.
And I believe the old raspberry growing has sort of been taken over by strawberry growing now.
Yes, there's about 50 acres under polythene now for on strawberries.
Under polythene, but I mean yours was out in the open air, wasn't it?
In the open air at those days, yes.
And I mean, did the sun shine in those days?
It did. We had much better summers those days.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
But we always had a worry in the month of May because the month of May was the time you got frost. And every night you looked up to the sky to see was it coming. And it was always the last week in May was the biggest worry.
Because that could destroy the entire crop. Absolutely. If it killed the flowers, it would prevent the fruit from developing. And did you not put any netting or anything
There's really nothing you could do, you know, not a thing.
What about the birds? Did you have scarecrows?
Yeah, well, everybody, there was so much fruit in the area, but I had a few, and everybody had a few. And, you know, you didn't miss them then, except the last pick. You never got the last pick, and the birds got that one.
The birds.
Thank you very much. Well, before I start into my own requests, I've been asked to say a special hello from the audience here to Packy Moore, who will be 90 in August, to Sis Conlon and Peggy Connor, who are at home with the flu, God help you, because I know what it's like, and to Father Connaughton, who are all from Duleek.
Now I want to introduce you to Jane O'Brien here in the front, and Brother Coleman there beside her.
That's right.
Sister and brother.
Yes.
And I should say sister and brother of a famous artist, the late Simon Coleman.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
We're going to talk a little bit about Simon's work. Jane, tell me, when did he join the College of Art?
Well, he won a scholarship in 1930 to go to RHA, to get RHA. And he started off from that and continued on until he got very ill there about 2 years ago.
Really?
And he couldn't even take a paintbrush in his hand.
Oh, Lord, that must have been soul-destroying for him.
Very sad.
Who were his early influences?
I don't know.
Mr. Keating, Mr. Sean Keating,
Mr. Sean
and Morris McGonigal.
Oh, of course.
I was only starting primary school when he went to the College of Art. So I missed out on why he was there. It didn't occur to me what he was doing. I was only very young. And he went, it was very difficult at the time because money was scarce, but he had won a small scholarship He had to go 70 miles every day by train
Wow.
and back again. Well, 35 up and 35
Dedication.
back. Yes. And I didn't realize what he was doing at the time. He was pushing a pencil hour after hour, week after week, and it didn't mean a lot to me until in 1939 the World Fair took place in New York, and he was one of the people picked by Mr. Sean Keating. He had a team, a 4-man team. There were 3 sections in the mural. They were drawing, painting, and he was one of the team that Mr. Sean Keating picked. It was so big that they had to do it down in Collins Barracks. It was so large, it was very high. And I remember seeing a picture in the press, in the daily press, of them up on a stepladder. They were painting a kind of a montage of Irish life. The Aer Lingus was just coming into being at the time, and the tourism and the agricultural side. He was brilliant at, being coming from a rural background, he was brilliant at horses, painting horses and so on. But later on then he was chosen, commissioned to paint the Council of State, and there were 15 members in that. He was surprised. A lot of other people were surprised that it was he that was picked rather than someone with a high profile like Sean O'Sullivan. I don't think Mr. De Valera was too impressed when he heard who was going to do the job. But anyway...
When you actually look at that painting, it looks more like a photograph. It is so realistic.
Yes,
yes.
it
is. Isn't it
You should see
extraordinary?
it like in the big thing.
Well, now, I'd have to
Beautiful.
get President Robinson to
You
invite
would.
me up to
Yes,
the Oris
yes,
if I
it
wanted to
is
see it,
very
because
yes.
that, of course, is
Yes.
where it hangs, Jane, isn't it?
Yes.
But his work hangs the length and breadth of the country. There it is again,
Length
just
and
wonderful,
breadth of
just
the country.
extraordinary, isn't it? An amazing.
Yes,
I
yeah, that's it.
wonder how
Yeah.
long it took him
Yeah.
to paint that.
Yeah.
I wonder how long.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Now, he worked with the Irish Folklore Commission
That's
too,
right.
and has indeed left a valuable chronicle of rural life in the 40s
That
and
is
50s.
correct. Yes, yes.
And he had a love of his native place, of course,
Yes. Yes.
and he's left a number of paintings depicting local landmarks.
Yes,
That's right.
indeed.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
indeed.
Now, what are we
yes.
looking at there, Jane?
That is that's the old church, yeah, in the old churchyard, and one of those is a very old building. It was in the 18th century. Now there is a Protestant church there in that as well, and it's 13th century.
Oh, really?
There are no headstones in that. I don't know why. I think they were all knocked down or something like
Yes.
that.
We have,
you know.
that's a self-portrait.
Yes.
That's
yes.
wonderful,
That's
isn't it?
himself. Now he's
Yes.
done that himself.
Yes. And moving on then,
And that is on the road.
is it?
Yes, but not at the moment. It's all gone.
Oh, Lord.
That's all gone.
Yes.
It's just the ordinary square.
Okay.
That's down at Duleek Cemetery.
Well, that's a beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful
And
bit
that's
of colour.
I don't know
That's
what
up at
that's.
Carlingford.
Lovely.
Yes,
Is
That was
it?
done
it
in
is.
Carlingford,
Yes, I
yes.
think so. Yes, yeah.
Wonderful work altogether.
Yes, I sat for him many times as a model, and
There you are.
Oh, bragging again.
that, Father.
that was before I joined the religious life. So after that, I didn't meet him. I met him very infrequently.
Did you?
So I missed out on an awful lot.
An awful lot.
Yes,
That's
yes.
dreadful.
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
this Monday show seems to bring them. I want to move on to May Murray. Where's May?
May somewhere.
May, you were actually originally Mayo and
Yes.
were part of the rural resettlement scheme and moved to Duleek.
In
Wha-
1940,
How old were you then?
21.
And what did you think about the move?
I suppose when you're young like that, you fall in with the crowd.
You go
so
where you're
there were
sent.
a few families
Yes.
came at the same time.
Yes. What did the rest of your family think?
They were happy enough.
Were
I
they?
think. Except my mother, Lord rest her, she sort of never settled.
To be uprooted out of your
Yes, yes.
your
My
own
father
place.
went back and forth to England, you see, every year to harvest and beet hoeing and beet pulling and that. And he used to going away from home. And I suppose he thought it would be a good idea to come to County Meath. There was more land, better land than where we were on a little
Did any
patch.
others from your neighbourhood in Mayo actually move as well?
Yes.
So you had a few sort of friends
yes, that
around
I
the
said
place.
that there was a few families moved together, you see.
Yes.
And
Did you ever go back to Mayo yourself?
I go back regularly.
Do you?
Yes.
I mean, where do you feel closest to? Mayo
Oh, I
or
suppose
Duleek and County Meath?
I feel closest to Duleek now because well, there aren't many of them in it. They're scattered all over the world. I had 7 of them. They're scattered everywhere.
So I presume you met your husband in Duleek?
In Duleek, yes. He was a native Duleek. I was the runner in.
Right. So it's a nice place to live.
Oh, a very nice place to live. It is. I like going back to Mayo.
What part of Mayo were you from?
Near Belmullet, about 6 miles southeast of Belmullet.
God, I had a great holiday in Belmullet
You did.
last June. I spent most of it chasing the tent. Chasing the tent. But we had a wonderful time.
That's
It
nothing,
poured virtually non-stop. We had 5 glorious days. I mean, just enjoyed it.
It rains there
close
when
to
it doesn't
nature.
rain anywhere else.
That's true. That's true. I want to have a quick word with Father Michael Lynn there because you're is it the parish priest?
That's right. We don't use that expression any longer.
Do you not?
An ordinary priest on the ground.
Right. A native of Westmeath.
That's right. Another blow-in.
Yes. Now, you were ordained in Maynooth in
That's
1960.
right. Ordained in 60. In actual fact, I think the largest number of priests ordained in any year was in 1960, but we had quality as well. And of course, Maynooth this year is preparing to celebrate 200 years, and it has supplied most of the priests for the parishes of Ireland, but it also has missionary connections because Dalgan Park was founded from Maynooth Mission to China, Kiltegan Fathers with links with Africa, and I also am part of a chain that has links with Latin America. And
Yes, you were off in Lima for your sins.
that's right. Well, no, I didn't have any sins at that time. It wasn't any recent occurrence. But I was fortunate to be allowed to go as a volunteer and work there amongst the people in the shantytown with the Columban Fathers and Associates from 1960 to 73. So it certainly was a great experience to see a world that was so different. And I suppose you could say of the South American people that they're Christian in a sense from the heart upwards, and they have deep Inca roots. So those two traditions have been combined, and it's a great place for popular religion. The largest procession, I think, in the world is in Lima in the month of October. About 500,000 people take part in it. The patron of the city to save them from earthquakes is carried through the streets, but in more recent times, of course, the whole new ball game with missionaries who work amongst the poor, and there's always a certain amount of conflict between the missionary on the ground and the governments who generally represent the raw face of capitalism and power, and the missionaries are, I suppose, helping the people to stand on their own 2 feet and have a greater sense of their own dignity and self-assurance.
Yes.
And it's a very enriching experience indeed for any missionary. I think it leaves its mark on us. A little bit odd as a result of it.
Of course. And how has life been in Duleek for you?
The life has been pretty good. It's in the comfortable east coast. It takes a little bit of adjusting, as Liam pointed out. Duleek is a very historic place, and one of the great highlights we had in the parish when Cardinal O'Fee, God be good to him, was still alive, was to celebrate 1,500 years of the faith. But that's the past, and only last Saturday we had 110 for confirmation, and again there's a great sense of enthusiasm in our parishes. One might get the impression on the national media that the church is dead. That's, I think, just perception. The church on the ground is very much alive, and there's a great welcome and bond between the priest and his people at all levels and at all ages. And I certainly would be quite hopeful for the church in Duleek. And I don't know will it last for another 1,500 years, but
Well,
it's quite strong at the present.
We're going to end this part of the show on that. The remaining couple of minutes left, a brief word with a tractor kidney and Margaret McHugh, sisters, I do believe. And just to confuse matters, one wants to be called Atty and the other wants to be called Rita. Oh no, in fact, they're the names that your close family would call you.
Yes.
Atty and Rita. Both of you have actually spent probably more of your life out of the country than you have in.
We have.
You left Atty at what age?
21.
21. And found your way, right out to Canada?
Yes. I went to England, then I went to the States, and I ended up in Canada.
But
27 years in Canada.
And one thing you always promised yourself was that you'd retire home.
Oh, in Ireland, yes.
Yes, so Ireland has always been home.
Yes.
And you too, Rita? You loved working abroad?
I did. I'd still love being there.
Would you?
Yeah.
I won't ask you what brought you back, will I?
No, don't ask me what. Well, if you must know, it was a health problem.
Ah, yes.
I had a few serious operations.
Right.
And I thought it was a good place to come if I was going to get sick. And I asked Daffy if I did get very sick, would she just stick me on a plane and send me home? So that's when we decided to retire to Ireland, which was 4 years ago, coming in April.
Well, I must say, you're looking very well at it.
Well,
isn't she?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel.
That's Duleek, is it? There's a woman here in the front determined to get in the commercial. I'm telling you, there's going to be a flood of tourists starting to Duleek. Look at her. Look at her. Honest to God. She hasn't even had a drink yet. It's the thoughts of going to the Ashburn House Hotel now. And Charlie Dullahan.
Dullahan, yes.
You worked in the fruit and veg market
indeed.
virtually all your life there in
I
Dublin.
was 45 years there.
45 years.
From 1937 until 82.
And you enjoyed it?
Oh, I did, yeah. I sold all the fruit for Jim Conlon and the strawberries.
Did you?
Did, yes.
So you knew him?
Oh, I knew him well.
Well, isn't that gas?
Sold out strawberries and raspberries for the boys.
And were they decent? No, these
well, I
raspberries, were
liked
they
them
good?
so much that when I retired, I came down and I lived.
You're joking. Isn't that
yeah.
gas?
Yeah. No, a grand set of people.
Did you ever get sick of fruit and veg?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did,
Yeah. It's like the butcher
Yes.
working with raw meat. He can't bear to eat it at the end of the day.
But now I can't get enough of it. They won't give it to me.
Well, listen, we'll ring that hotel and we'll tell them to have that on the menu now on their way home. Listen, you've been a charming audience, and thank you very much indeed. And I'm sorry that the hour is so short. There are just only 60 minutes. We just can't fit any more minutes into that hour, no matter how we try. But you've been charming. A quick hello to that hospital, quick! In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Hello, Pauline, Muriel and Eileen, walking in the outpatients of Our Lady of Lourdes Hospital in Drogheda. They said they'd have all the patients sitting up in their beds watching us today.
Okay, well, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Live at 3 for today.